It is customary that people make a wish on New Year's in Romania, but I can tell you that it doesn't work. Because for the last several years, I've been wishing for Winds of Winter. And I know it's offensive and he doesn't like being told this, but George R. R. Martin isn't getting any younger, especially in the age of Berserk. And it's kind of upsetting. Like, he gets, I guess, a little bit peeved that the fans are demanding of him, but I don't feel a lot of compassion considering the guy is a millionaire because of the fans. I mean, if it wasn't for the fans, if people didn't like his work, he would definitely not have the renown and the lifestyle which he has now. So, yeah, I view not the fans being entitled, I feel Martin being the entitled person. I personally don't like getting involved into franchises that I think don't have an ending. This is the reason why I don't read Berserk. Like, a lot of people tell me to read it, but I know it's never going to be finished. There is no conclusion to it, so I don't want to read it. And I bought his books. Like, I spent time watching the movies. I had an HBO subscription, so I do feel that I'm not entitled when I want this show, or well, sorry, when I want the story to be concluded. Um, I don't really feel sad that fans are demanding this from him. And of course, there's no financial obligation that he needs to finish his work, but there is, I suppose, a moral obligation if you really care about the people that made you a millionaire and the people whose backs you used in order to climb on your throne of fame. So no, like I definitely think that if Martin doesn't finish his books, he is a bad guy. But with that said, I kind of understand why he doesn't finish the books. And I think it has to do with the show and the popularity that the show has garnered, as well as how majorly disappointing the last season ended up being. And for example, if you look at all the mothers that are probably now crying because they named their daughter Daenerys before finding out that she's literally Hitler in the show. In the books, there's a lot of foreshadowing to that. In the books, Daenerys is a very young and naive girl who is becoming mad with power because through various machinations she always wins, so she's not used to losing, and because of that, power goes to her head. And there's a lot of foreshadowing that war is always bad for the people and it never ends up with a winner or good things happening. So you kind of get the feeling that once she gets into Westeros, she is not going to be a liberator. She's probably just going to be another conqueror, another tyrant. So when you're reading the books, that makes sense. But when you're watching the TV show, it looks like she got triggered by some bells and started indiscriminately killing people. And I think the reason for this happening is because the show moved a lot faster than the books, and Martin might have told Dumb and Dumber the plot points. It's like, okay, well, Dany is going to snap. Jon Snow is a Targaryen. Is going to kill Dany. And Bran is going to become the king and blah, blah, blah. But just because you give people some plot points doesn't mean they're going to write the same story that you have in mind. For example, imagine if I manage to go back in time and I tell someone the Star Wars movie, the whole story of the Star Wars movie, and I write a very well detailed first half, and then I say, okay, well, take into account that Darth Vader is Luke's father and Leia's his sister, and they managed to blow up the Death Star. Just because I tell them this doesn't mean that they're going to recreate the same original Star Wars, and chances are it's actually going to be worse. So this is what's happening right now. Like, Martin has to take into account the fact that everything he had planned is now in the open. There's spoilers for his material. He knows how people react to these spoilers. So he probably has to readjust a lot of his story, as well as make sure that he still has something up his sleeve in order to surprise readers. So that's why I think it's taking so long for him to write this book. But because there was COVID and he was locked up in a little cabin, maybe he focused writing a little bit more than usual. And also take into account that I think he just doesn't like writing this book anymore. I think like even he got upset with the show. So he focuses on a lot of other projects. Like there's Elden Ring coming. There's the prequel to Game of Thrones that he speaks with HBO about, and all of the other nonsense. So I'm really skeptical if we're ever going to see a book. But this is the last mention of it. And the last news we have came yesterday, where he yet again hints about the book's future, saying that he had to rewrite some chapters and worked on other projects. And because of that, well, probably another year or two. And at this point, I'm really giving up hope. I don't think that this story is going to finish, because even if, let's assume that he manages to finish Winds of Winter and he pushes it out, there's still another book to be had. There's still one more book that he wants to make. Apparently, both of the last two books are going to be 3,000 pages long. Man, I don't think he can make it, okay? And as I mentioned in the beginning, not in the age of Berserk, he's not. You gotta be honest, you know, like you gotta take into account reality. So I'm very disappointed, because I really like the books. Like, all of you who haven't read them really don't know how much you're missing. I mean, some characters that are in the show, they're just comic relief of what they are in the books. Euron Greyjoy is the perfect example. In the books, it is just like this really mystical, cool pirate that walked into Valeria and comes back with all sorts of cool artifacts, an armor that's impenetrable, a horn that can control dragons. He is on this ship called the Silence, where every single sailor has his tongue cut out, so they can't talk about his adventures and what he uncovered from the Doomland of Valyria. I mean, it's very mystical. It's, you know, he is a very powerful character and a really great villain. Probably a villain in order to overcome Ramsay Snow in getting the readers someone to hate. Like they used to hate Joffrey, like they used to hate Ramsay Snow. Now you're supposed to hate Euron Greyjoy. In the movies, I mean, in the TV show, he's like that guy that wants to fuck the queen. You know, this is just, he's like a frat guy, I guess, which is what Dumb and Dumber, the writers, the directors, consider to be an evil man, a straight white frat guy who wants to shank the queen. It's like, and it's not just that. Like, there's other characters that are like so bad in the show. Even Cersei, like Cersei in the books, she was very manipulative. She wasn't very direct in her confrontations. She would try to do all the machinations from the shadows. In the book, she's more like suffering from toxic masculinity, you know, just going out there and raging at people and whatnot, especially in the latest seasons. So, you know, it's something that I'm really disappointed, I suppose, because I was looking forward to this. Maybe Elden Ring is going to be something good, because I think that one is going to come out. As for Martin, you know, like, even if he goes the way of Berserk, and leaves behind like some manuscripts where he's going to explain like how the story is supposed to happen, and like what, seeing what Dumb and Dumber did to his work, I don't think anyone can recreate it. You know, George R.R. Martin is definitely a genius when it comes to writing. All of his characters are believable. All of his characters are very complex. They have like really interesting viewpoints that conflict with each other, and it's amazing that the story doesn't move the characters, but the characters move the story, which is why I really love Game of Thrones. So yeah, if you're waiting for the Winds of Winter, apparently according to this, just don't hold your breath. Not gonna happen this year. Not gonna happen next year, even with the pandemic. So you're just straight out of luck. I guess the best thing you can hope for is that the prequels are good. Yeah, maybe they can recreate the magic. But like one of the cool things about Game of Thrones was the villains. Like they could create some really nice villains, like you create Joffrey and Ramsay Snow. But I think those villains would be controversial now. They wouldn't be political correct, right? So I don't have that much hope for the prequels either. I don't think they can create that very brutal and dark medieval society where women are getting raped, men are getting slaughtered, and you have like all these things that aren't very political correct or feminist friendly happening. I don't think you can do that in the show because people whine and complain, and because of that, we can't get any good entertainment anymore. Because part of good entertainment is that you need to really hate the character, like really despise the character's guts. So you feel the catharsis when the character finally passes away, like when Joffrey was finally defeated, you know? But anyway, right. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section.